Right before her very eyes, each of the people before her began to shift. Bones snapped, bodies elongated as tails, wings, fur, feathers, talons, and teeth all sprouted from their bodies. Within moments, there were animals that stood in the place of their once human forms. Wolves, panthers, bears, and at the end, a snow leopard paced back and forth among the crowd. Each animal was beautiful and massive. Boomer squeezed Gretchen's shoulder as she stood in awe of the majestic creatures that now stood before her. "We've got you, Little Red. This is my pack. We're a bunch of misfits, but we got you." He kissed her softly on the top of her head and stood back. "Remember, I won't hurt you, and neither will Odin." She stood back as his body began to shake and expand. She could hear the snapping of bones, and she cringed, but stood her ground as fur began to sprout from his body, and a giant bear took Boomer's once humanoid place. He chuffed in her direction, laying on his belly. "We don't have time for this," Nicole complained as he knocked on the hood of the Jeep. Gretchen looked to him, then back to Odin. He was magnificent, and huge was an understatement. Boomer was taller than her Jeep in width and length. He was such a beautiful luminescent shade of white, like a fresh snowfall. But his eyes were the same electric honey brown she had become accustomed to over the years, and her heart leapt with excitement. She walked closer to him and buried her face in his thick fur. She heard Nicole groan from afar, but pulled on Odin's neck, and he bent so that his ear was close to her mouth. "Can you understand me like this?" she asked. He chuffed in response, which made her giggle. "No wonder you were such an animal in bed. Your stamina was—" A growl interrupted her teasing, and she turned to see Nicole's turquoise eyes staring daggers at Boomer. However, Odin seemed unconcerned as his shoulders quaked and a repeated grumble came from his chest. Meanwhile, Mo had tears in her eyes and she held her stomach, cackling like a mad woman. "I've never heard a bear laugh in his true form. That's fantastic." All at once, the ground began to quake beneath their feet, and Nicole roared, "Get in the fucking car!"